Wrapping up, we got 5 more years of greatness. I will be returning to Chief. This is everything we dreamed about, talked about. Now some more Super Bowl rings, man. Let's go.
Everybody, welcome to the Red and Gold Kingdom podcast. I'm Jason Pattis. I'm your host. Man, watching Chris Jones feel how just excited, happy he was, man, it just gives a lot of optimism inside Chiefs fans because, man, I'm going to tell you what, the anchor of your defense is going to be coming back for at least 3 years, possibly up to 5. The contract was upwards of $158 million, of which right around $101 million is guaranteed. What I did like with what Brett Veach did was that he made that contract for that first year only $125 or $1.25 million against the cap, which allows you to go out and do a little bit more damage in the free agent market. I got on just a slight bit longer than what I wanted to, or later than I wanted to, because the news broke of Kirk Cousins will not be in Minnesota. He is going to be going to the to the Falcons on a 1-year or 4-year contract. And man, I'm going to tell you what, the folks up north have got to be clamoring a little bit about what direction they're going to be going in at wide or quarterback, because now Justin Jefferson, they got to worry about him too. So it looks like they may be going after Justin Fields, or maybe even the draft, but who knows? So that's all with them. Chiefs fans, this is what you've been waiting for all year or all offseason so far in the first 4 weeks. Is, will Chris Jones get re-signed? Brett Veach does exactly what he should have done, which was making sure that Chris Jones does not hit the free agent market. You saw Christian Wilkins. He's going to be going over to Las Vegas. He's going to be teaming up with Max Crosby. Now Veach and all of the brass in Kansas City, now they have to start thinking, okay, what are we going to do with our offensive line now? Because that's one of the big things that they have got to take care of at first. So make sure to follow us on Red Gold Kingdom on Twitter. We're growing. It's nice. It's been a steady growth over the first 3 weeks. This is our 3rd episode today. No interviews today because this is free agency Monday. So it is going to be all free agency for the entirety of the show. I want to welcome everybody to the show today. I know that there was a couple of things that we wanted to get out of the way first, because there has been big news that has dropped over the last 2.5 hours, hour and a half-ish, since free agency has begun. If you do have any questions, I want to hear from you. Please put those up. I'll put those on the comments. We'll go over those all together. And so topics of the day is really one topic of today, which is free agency, because at 12 o'clock our time, 11 o'clock our time, 12 o'clock Eastern, free agency started. You saw where long snapper James Winchester was re-signed. He will be coming back to the Chiefs. You wonder what could happen with L'Jarius Sneed. Do they want to explore a tag and trade? Do they want to explore tag long-term deal? It just depends. The cap is going to go up each year. That, with the amount of money that Kansas City has been under with the sorry, off the top of my head here. Sorry, there was just something else that just turned on with NFL Network. I've got this on in the background too as well. With the free agent, with the salary cap coming up each year, it was a little more than what a lot of people anticipated. That's really good for Kansas City. Places like Buffalo, for instance, they're still $15 million over the cap after they have let both of their free safeties go, one of their offensive linemen. Looks like one of the linebackers is going to probably end up walking too as well. And It's just complete chaos right now for if you're a Buffalo Bill fan, and that's fine because every time that they have to make another move like that, that's just one step closer the Chiefs have to getting to an AFC championship game again. And I want to see where Kansas City goes in the running back spot. That's first off and foremost. You saw Josh Jacobs. He's no longer a Raider, which is great news for Kansas City fans. He will be he shipped off over to Green Bay, so he's going to be in the NFC North with Aaron Jones. And I think that that's something that I think with Kansas City fans, I know that he's caused some problems in the past, and I think that that's great that he's able to get his money and get out of the conference, get out of the division. So Russell Wilson, he's off over to Pittsburgh now. Didn't really have to worry about him because there was so much dysfunction in Denver that kind of played itself out a little bit. They did cause Kansas City some problems. They did have their number sort of. It was a hard out, but whenever you take Russell Wilson out of the equation, it just makes things a little bit easier. On top of that, you have the Broncos that took such a massive hit against the salary cap with Russell Wilson. And so Pittsburgh's only going to be paying a little over $1 million for him this year. And that's it because Denver's on the tag for that. So, everybody that's watching right now, if you have any questions, comments, throw them on there. We'll put them up here. We'll answer them. We'll talk about them. It's been a wild, I would say hour and a half so far, hour and 40 minutes of free agency news. So I want to see where Kansas City goes, like I said, with the running back and also at offensive line. Now, you know that Christian Wilkins and Max Crosby are going to be teaming up in Las Vegas. And that's something that, you have to account for. And do you bring Donovan Smith back? Do you really want to bring Donovan Smith back? Do you want to take your chances in free agency? There's a couple out there. There's a Tyron Smith. He's been injury plagued a little bit, but whenever he's good and he's right and he's upright, man, he's one of the best in the league. Look, saw David Bakhtiari. He was released by the Green Bay Packers today. I don't think you're going to go that route because he's only played one game in 3 years. I think he might end up retiring when it's all said and done. So I want to see where Kansas City goes because I don't think that you want to bring Donovan Smith back. If you do, I don't know. They had problems on the edges already. You saw that in the Super Bowl. They had problems with containment, keeping guys outside of the pocket. The pocket was collapsing quite a bit for Pat Mahomes. And let's see here. Looks like Saquon Barkley has signed. I am not sure exactly where. My guess is probably with the Eagles. He just put out a tweet saying, "Thank you, everyone has shown the love and support of the past 6 years. Forever grateful, excited for the next chapter," with a blue heart. Yep, and there it is. He has signed with the Eagles. That's interesting news too. So it seems like all the big running backs are staying in the NFC, keeping them out of the AFC. I really think that with Isaiah Pacheco, the way that he runs, I really feel like if you really didn't want to get him a counterpart, he might be able to survive another maybe 1-2 seasons, maybe 3 tops. But you really need another guy in there for him to be able to counterbalance because let's face it, Clyde Edwards-Helaire did not live up to the billing that he had coming out of LSU. You really thought you had a speed guy that was kind of shifty, kind of small, almost like a Darren Sproles type that was small enough to be able to find his spots and getting in and out of places. It just didn't work out. Had some problems with injuries. And so that's when you pick up an Isaiah Pacheco, and he has hit a home run for you guys, for Chiefs fans also. So that's what's, it's really big. It's really good too. So I want to see if, they can bring an Isaiah Pacheco in. Now, there's been some also talk. There's also linebacker issues. You saw there's a list of free agents. You see MVS. He was released a little bit ago. You also had had that up here just a few minutes ago. But anyway, you have a list of free agents that Kansas City has been looking out to really want to bring all that group back. And so we'll go over that here in just a minute, and we're going to take a quick break. And this is the Red and Gold Kingdom podcast, and I want to thank y'all for joining us today. We'll be back in just a moment. If you have any comments or questions, throw them up there, and we'll get those answered for you. And everybody, welcome back to the Red and Gold Kingdom podcast. I'm Jason Patterson. Thanks for joining in today. If you have any questions, comments, throw them up there. We'll go over those with you. It's a free agency frenzy Monday, and Saquon Barkley just signed a 3-year, $37.7 million contract with the Eagles. So he's going to be there for at least the next 3 years. You saw T. Higgins get hit with the franchise tag. He's not very happy about that. He's definitely requesting a trade to get out of Cincinnati. Does the Chiefs try to make a move for T. Higgins, knowing that there's a possibility of having a longer term deal with him? Maybe. Don't know. We'll have to see, because you don't know if you're going to also tag and trade L'Jarius Sneed as well. That's something that we need to also discuss, because he is going to get paid. He is going to have his day as far as making some, as we talk about it on here, is generational wealth, if he can take care of his money, right? But does the Chiefs make a play for him? I think that that's something that's very doable. I know that Kansas City's sitting pretty well at the cap right now as it is. You're going to have the restructure of Pat's contract, probably restructure of Travis Kelce's contract as well. We'll have to see exactly how much they're going to save in the cap. So we'll have to just kind of go from there and see what that goes. But that also is going to depend on what they do as far as free agency at the wide receiver position, maybe even at the linebackers position, because I know you see Willie Snead. He's out, looks like. Bring him back. Drew Tranquill. He got a contract over the weekend, along we talked about with Chris Jones also as well. And one of the big question marks that I have is Eric Reid. That's another name that a lot of folks have been talking about. Where did they go with Eric Reid? I'd like to see a long-term deal get finalized with him. I really do, because that's really going to shore up the back end of that defense. These are young guys that you've brought in through the draft, and they see, Brett Veach has been able to get not only that first deal done, but starting to get that second deal done. And, Chris Jones, second deal. Eventually, he probably will end up giving a little bit of that up as far as offsetting against the cap, because, I mean, let's face it, they're here to win championships. They're not here to sit there and make bukus of money, but they're also wanting to get paid for their worth. And sometimes just offsetting a couple of years on the back end kind of works out in the end. So I want to definitely see where Kansas City does go as far as that contract goes. But again, it's guaranteed 3 years, $101 million, could go up to 5 years, $158 million. He's the highest paid defensive lineman now in NFL history. And by God, he has earned every freaking cent of it, because that guy is a beast. He has done nothing but win. And he has been a one-man wrecking crew for this Chiefs defense now since the day he stepped into the door at the Truman Complex there in Kansas City, and through those practice doors, and also a GEHA field. One of the things I want to talk about really quick before we go to small break into the Swifty spotlight, but all the big running backs seem to be staying in the NFC. You have Josh Jacobs moving from Las Vegas now to Green Bay. You also see Saquon switching in the division from New York to Philadelphia. And that's got to be some sour grapes there, because, those guys are going to play at least twice a year, every year, possibly 3 times if they make it into the playoffs. So I don't know, but that's going to be some interesting, fun stuff. So let's go ahead, take one last quick break, go Swifty Spotlight, then we'll go into the 2-minute warning. And this is the Red and Gold podcast, Red and Gold Kingdom podcast. And I am Jason. You guys stick around. And everybody, welcome back to the Red and Gold Kingdom podcast. I'm your host, Jason. On our Swifty Spotlight today, there has been an individual. She's just started following us on Twitter just recently, and I'm telling you what, she's a great follow. She gets a lot of good reaction. She has some really good takes with Taylor and Travis both. And that would be Senior Swifty 13. I want to say thank you for following us. It's great to see that you are following us here on Twitter. Go follow her on Twitter as well. She's got a lot of great takes. And she calls herself the OG Swifty. She's a lover of sarcasm and all that good stuff and all that mess. And she says that she's a Niners and Chiefs fanatic, but I have a feeling she's probably more of a Chiefs fanatic than a Niners fanatic, because let's face it, we all want to root for winners. So yeah, the Niners, they get there, but they're kind of more like the bridesmaid than the bride. You just always second place. So the spotlight today is Senior Swifty 13, the OG Swifty. And so I want to thank her for also following us here on Twitter. And anybody else that comes in and follows us on Twitter, we'll highlight you also in the Swifty Spotlight, get you some follows. And who doesn't love a great love story like Travis and Taylor? I mean, you saw the pictures of them going to a mall this weekend while she was still in Singapore. Now she is off and out the country. She had a great thank you note to Singapore for the time that she was there. And there were some really incredible pictures that were posted on a couple of Taylor Swift fan sites of them going to some gardens and traveling and just kind of just doing their own thing. And it's so nice because, again, they're the people that you see and you kind of look at and you kind of look up to them like, you know what? Yeah, they got it. So, all right, well, everybody, I'm going to jump back out here in just a second. We're going to have the 2-minute warning, and we are going to talk a little bit more just about some free agency, and we'll get you out of here. This is the Red and Gold Kingdom podcast.
Wrapping up, we got 5 more years of greatness. I will be returned a Chief. This is everything we dreamed about, talked about. Now some more Super Bowl rings, man. Let's go.
And that was Chris Jones talking about him signing his newly minted 5-year, $158 million contract, of which at least guaranteed is 3 years and $101 million. The great part about that, for the 2024 season, he will only account for $1.25 million against the cap. So, Gabe Davis is off the board. He is off to Jacksonville. Where does that stand for a couple other guys that I know that the Chiefs have been kind of eyeing a little bit? Do you see them bring in a T. Higgins on a trade and then a sign for a longer term deal? He's on the tag right now. You have Cal Ridley come in. Don't know. We know we're not going to see Jerry Jeudy because Jerry Jeudy is now with the Cleveland Browns. Just signed him this weekend, or traded for him this weekend. So we'll have to see. I put a Twitter poll out. I want to go over that. It's only had one person that's hit on it so far. So if you guys want to jump on the Twitter poll there on the Red and Gold Kingdom podcast on the Twitter page there. It's got about a day and 22 hours left. So what should the free agent acquisition mix be in the offseason for the Chiefs? 2 free agents and 1 draft pick, 2 draft picks, 1 free agent. Do you want to go a little cheap? Which might not be the worst idea because it's a pretty great wide receiver class for the 2024 NFL draft coming up at the end of next month. I do believe April 27th, 28th in Detroit, Michigan. So only free agents that can catch, because we all know Chiefs led the league in drop passes. So that's a premium. Or you blow it up and you just get 3 rooks along with Rashee Rice. Make him the number 1. Move him around, kind of like the way Minnesota does with Justin Jefferson a little bit. Moves that guy around all over the place. Speaking of which, he's not going to be too happy unless they already have a solid plan in place, because he's already talked about wanting to play with Kirk Cousins past this year. Does he move on to Atlanta as well? Does he sit out and request a trade? Could Kansas City possibly put a package together that may bring him to Kansas City? I don't know if that could happen, but with the increase in money in free agency in the salary cap that you've got this year, about damn near anything is possible, because there's a lot of teams unloading big contracts. They're unloading a lot of money trying to get under the salary cap, because they know that all it takes is a couple of players that could possibly change your season last year from a 6-win team to maybe an 8-9 team, which could get you in the playoffs. So, all right, well, this has been the last part of the 2-minute warning. Everybody, I want to thank you all for jumping in today. This is the Red and Gold Kingdom podcast. I'm still trying to get that out a little bit. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, also on Instagram as well. We've had a lot of folks that have been responding on Twitter, and which has been really nice. Make sure to jump on there, catch up with the poll question that's up there. And as news breaks, we'll have that for you as well. So, again, we'll have to see where Kansas City goes. You're looking at offensive tackle. You're looking at linebacker. You're also looking at running back, to see what Brett Veach and that staff can do to put together a little bit of a discount at the front end, because let's face it, Kansas City coming into next year is going to be a Super Bowl favorite. They're already sitting at that spot in Vegas in the way too early Vegas odds. So now, one last thing. We saw Christian Wilkins. He is going to be a Raider. He just announced that he is going to be signing with the Las Vegas Raiders, which is going to be making it pretty hard with him and Max Crosby on the front line. So Kansas City has got to make sure that they shore up the offensive line to keep Mahomes upright. You also got to make sure that holes are created for Pacheco. So that's where I want to see. I want to see running back. I want to see offensive line, and they need to hit. They need to hit, because let's face it, those bookends, man, had a hell of a hard time this year. Cannot do that 2 years in a row. So got to make sure that those are taken care of. All right, everybody. Thank you for jumping on with us today. And this is the Red and Gold Kingdom podcast. And take care.